Yo! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another sultry episode of Two Broke Twimbos, the podcast where your two favorite hosts, Danny the Guy and Phil Chard, prepare and dissect amazing topics. This week is nothing different.
Keyword being prepare.
As we always do about this time, let's see how we can start the show right. And I've got a special something for you right now. Take it way back to last week Friday. Holler if you hear me. Yes, that's right. It is what it is. The Uni-Pink remix. And by Rachel Chinoriri, Zimbabwe's finest. Right here on 2BTFM. Dan, tell us, what's the traffic looking like out there?
Let me tell you what's happening over here, I know you've already heard this, Philip. All 15 minutes of that new Kabza chant. Featuring everyone in South African Amapiano.
Yo, don't talk to me about it. Touch the subject right now. So touch the subject right now.
But anyway, yeah, wait.
So I was supposed to be at Kabza's show this weekend. I had tickets literally at the front. But sadly, due to circumstances beyond my control, I was unable to make that flight. I had to stop looking at the videos. It hurt. As a consolation, I got to see Kandoro, so.
Yeah. Oh, which day did you go?
I went Friday. And then
Okay, wait. We'll review it. We'll talk about it properly. It's part of, actually, I hope, is it even in our talking points?
Yeah.
Make sure. Oh yeah, it's there. Yeah, good. All right. Anyway, let's start the show, Philip. Let's start the show. Let's do this.
Jump up in the club, everybody gather round. Two broke Twimbos in the town. Listen close to the sound. Danny that guy and Phil Chard, baby bringing the fun. With the podcast vibes, we not stop till the morning sun. Every episode got me laughing, can't control my smile. Talking about the unique style. They're spreading good vibes, keeping it real and entertaining. They're on the rise. Two broke Twimbos, bring the heat to the floor. Everybody get Guy and Phil Chard in control. We gonna keep moving to the podcast floor. We gonna keep moving to the podcast floor.
We here. Water them. Yeah. No, we here. Phil, are you?
Good to go. Sound a big thing then.
Get mad now.
Let me hear a drum play.
Pet Mono.
Right. Welcome there. Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast. This is Two Broke Twimbos. My name is Danny That Guy, a.k.a. Danos the Mad Titan, a.k.a. Denford Dwekmaraini, a.k.a. Denimbi My Life Your Entertainment, a.k.a. I'm done with these streets. For the meantime, I don't feel comfortable getting on no helicopters, man. What is going on? A.k.a. Akuna Movement Done Move.
That's right. And it's the unmistakable, the unrefutable, the unquestionable, the undeniable, the passport. Maybe will be deemed what will later Phil Chard, aka for the floors, the big boss, baby, aka Section Lovu, aka Filthy Phil, aka Phil on Musk, aka DJ Mkaradi. And of course, somewhere in the Tangere would dream.
Welcome to another episode, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I know we said no complaining, but I have some things I want to complain about. I have to complain. I have to get it off my chest. This is why I have a podcast.
You can't even push P like for the first minute.
No. Sometimes you just get things off your chest. So yesterday when I got home from work, the missus was like, yeah, so I dropped my phone. I was like, okay.
Wait, you dropped your phone?
I know some people. She dropped her phone. Mm-hmm. The screen was not working.
Which people? No, wait.
No biggie.
Wait. Which people do you know?
Okay, I suppose I have to take this all the way to the beginning. All right, Philip, you know what? My very first freelance work was in IT. So you remember Ranesh and them, you know, I worked with them. I worked freelance in IT. So a lot of people back then,
I used to supply you guys with parts.
Exactly. A lot of people back then were like, my computers, my phone is not working. So, you know, at first I was like, I mean, there's a difference, but I was like, you know what? Let me just learn this stuff as well. So I had there's this guy in town, his name's Fadzi. Shout out Fadzi. And I was like, whenever anyone came to me with a computer, with a phone that was messed up, I was like, it's fine. Give it to me. I'll take it to Fadzi. Fadzi will fix it. And then, you know, I'd put my markup on it. And it was like a little side hustle that I was doing, right? But then I figured, you know, some of the stuff is simple enough that I can do it myself. And Fadzi kindly enough was like, yeah, you can use my tools. You can use my
famous
workshop.
Last words.
So it was... I mean, whenever it was anything minor, right, that didn't require like serious work, I would just go and you know open up the phone, maybe replace a belt or whatever. I could do basic stuff. I could even replace screens and whatever on iPhones and blah blah blah, all that stuff, right? And it was just like a side thing that I was doing to my IT work. Anyway, so obviously in there I met several people who did that kind of stuff. So the one guy I know, shout out Shumba. Tairo Shumba, he has that little store on the corner of in the Sam Levy village.
Have they paid for advertising? Because you're giving niggas names, numbers, addresses, list of services.
You asked questions. I'm answering the questions. Actually, you know what? I will give a shout out to my mans because he's helped me out a couple of times. Go check him out. It's called Moby Tech. It's a little corner store there by the village. I can't remember what it's opposite now, but it's like a tiny little corner store right there.
Chinese furniture store. Actually, where I bought this shit.
Yeah.
There's a Chinese furniture. It's next door to Mid Orange Pharmacy.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I went up to him. I was like, listen, man, phone just dropped. If you don't mind. In my mind, I was like, you know, the little belt inside maybe got loose or something. If you just open it up and just like, you know, secure the item. So he takes one look at it. Is like, yeah, my man, you're going to need a new LCD. I was like, nah, dog. I mean, look at it. The screen is white. It's steady. He's like, no, if you want me to open it, I'll open it up for you. No problem. So they opened it up. And for sure, I need a new LCD. So I was like, cool. What are we talking? Like $150, $200? He's like, nah, $500. I was like, sorry, what? Mm-hmm. Like $500 to buy a new LCD for an iPhone 15 Pro. $500. So, yeah, that happened today. So, I am feeling very frustrated with life. That's insane. $500, Philip. Dollars. Hey, does anyone...
I want to feel sorry for you, but I can't because that's cheap.
That's the thing that I found out. I was like, nah, my man's trying to take me. I didn't think that.
And also, there is another thing. don't ever take, if it's an iPhone 10 or beyond, do not take it to a non-authorized repair center or reseller, because you're gonna have a world of hurt. No matter how good they are, if they're buying non-genuine parts from Apple, you're screwed.
That's why he was like, if you want the non-genuine, it's $300, but if you want genuine, $500. So, and I mean, I trust him to do a good job. I've been seeing how he works.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel I poured this very large glass of Hong Thong. Yeah, so I just wanted to get that off my chest because, today was rough, I had just come out of fixing both cars. I was like, oh my gosh, I can finally breathe. June is men's mental health month. Yeah. Men's mental health awareness month. Mm-hmm. And someone posted that, for men's mental health month, you just got to stand outside at night and look at the sky, take a deep breath, and then go back inside and lock in. It's what it feel like sometimes, man. It's what it feel like sometimes. Gotta lock in. What we need to get now, Phil, is this world's smallest violin sound effect. That's what we need. But anyway, I used to say this on Twitter back in the day. Nobody cares. Work harder. It is what it is. We got to do what we got to do. But let's push some positivity. We're here on the podcast. Despite all the things that may have prevented us from doing what we want to do, we're here. So let's start off by shouting out some Africans doing big things around the world. Let me start off with Tendai Nyeke, who wrote and directed a film called Burns and Song that has made the official selection in the pilot category at Dances with Films Festival. So shout out to Tendai Nyeke for having her film selected to be shown at that festival. So if you want to know what the film is about, it's the story of Risimu, the perfect seeming housewife who, however, hides a dark past. One chaotic morning ignites a vengeful spirit, or Ngozi, and it threatens to crumble her life. I've always thought this. Western myths, legends, histories, all that kind of stuff have been told to death. Everyone's heard of everything from, witches and wizards to Loch Ness Monster to... all their stories have been told to death, but there's so many rich African myths and legends that could be made into movies and TV shows. That would be amazing. So I'm very happy to see that some of these movies that are being made are being put out there into the festival circuit. Next up, big congratulations to Zimbabwean author Yvette Lisandlovu, who's been shortlisted for the 2023 Shirley Jackson Awards for outstanding achievements in horror, psychological suspense, and dark fantasy fiction. Shout out to Yvette Lisandlovu for her debut story collection called Drinking from Graveyard Wells. So yeah, she's been shortlisted for the 2023 Shirley Jackson Awards. And we wait to see. Maybe she'll win. Who knows in that particular category. But congratulations just for the listing. It's a big deal. Shout out to Greedy South for giving us both of those stories. In the meantime, while we're talking about Africans doing it big, Tyler's debut album has now surpassed 1 billion Spotify streams. Congratulations on making $342. Yeah! And meanwhile, Tyler has also been nominated at the 2024 Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. This feels like a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Although Tyler does feel like she's been shoehorned into American It Girl from some of the way some of the media covers it, but then she still maintains that sort of authentic.
Well, how else would you want the media to cover her then?
No, I just mean, I feel like some people would just see her as an American. I mean, especially people in America. I don't want them to cover her in a different way. I'm just making a commentary on what I see. So yeah, but congratulations to Tyler. Clearly, she is she's in there right now. She got it. She's doing it right. I saw she was on the cover of something. I can't remember. What was it? The cover of something. And
Days magazine. Yeah, a real strange cover.
I don't get this.
I don't get that cover. That looked weird.
I looked at it. I was like,
that red. Phil, I've never watched it. I've never watched it, but there's a meme, right? There's a meme on social media sometimes of a white woman sitting on a white couch. And behind her is like 6 or 7 very large, very well-endowed black men, very oiled up. You know what I mean? It's on a website. You know what I mean? It's an oft-used meme. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's a little concerning sometimes.
That's not what I thought. But when I saw it, I literally, I was like, I don't get this. And I was so amazed at how smoothly I just moved on. Previously, I'd be like, I need to understand what's going on. I was like, I don't get this. Clearly, the youth understand. So, Phil, I'm in the space right now where I'm like, you know what? I don't get it, and it's cool. So, there's that. Hey, you were saying you looked at it and I don't know. You went there.
I was just like, I feel very uncomfortable, I don't like this. I don't like the direction. But to each their own.
I mean, I didn't get the fit. I mean, the hair. I mean, she looks good, but like I don't get it. But it's cool. It's cool. It still looks good. And shout out to Gen Z and Gen Alpha and whoever else is
Alfa Romeo. I'm looking at it now. So she's wearing a 2-piece with a yellow bomber jacket, and then is that are those bandages around her legs? What is happening there? And then she's wearing the 2-piece, and then she's got a baseball bat, and then a sports announcer's
and a choker. Don't forget the choker. At least in some of the pics, not all of them.
Then there's a press conference where she's in a dress. This is great audio, by the way. This is great audio. Like two aging millennials review Gen Z photo. And then there's like three
who know nothing of the names of the clothing pieces. Just
then we've got this nice 2-piece with the low skirt. And the choker, as you mentioned, and the Halle Berry from the Flintstones wig. Remember, Dad? You remember the Flintstones movie? She actually does kind of look like Halle Berry from the Flintstones in this photo shoot, man. Okay,
yeah, she does kind of look Halle Berry-ish, actually.
But good for her. You know what?
Which is a big compliment.
As long as she's happy, and I see the last slide is her mother, so that's great. I'm hoping her mama was there, running defense at the shoot, making sure Tyler's looked after, so you know what I mean?
I sincerely hope she's got a huge team running defense around her with all these stories that are coming out. You heard about the Dream and his accusations?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't trust nobody in show business right now. I sincerely hope she's got menacing. I hope those large, oily men that you were describing are surrounding her right now in bodyguards. Because I don't trust nothing in Hollywood at the moment.
Yeah,
nothing.
I don't think those are the men to offer a solid defense. But anyway, you know what? It is what it is, Dan. It is what it is. Let's go.
Anyway, let's move on. It's a quick follow-up from last episode. I did mention a little bit of my rant on Crazy 8, and I see that people have disagreed with me. We put it up on the socials, made a quick question. Yo, can you close a game of Crazy 8 with an ace? Obviously, the ace of spades is out of the discussion. You can't close with an ace of spades. Guys.
Dan, the results are in. Did you see the results?
I saw the results.
The results here Dan, I think you're the only person that voted yes. 94% said no. 94% said no. That means you're wrong. You're done.
All wrong.
Oh, wow. Okay, arbiter
this is clearly a case of mass hallucination, and it's not everyone. There's a few people who know what's up, right? Okay, cool. Let me try and explain, okay? In football, the reason the offside rule exists, it's not an arbitrary rule. The reason it was put there was to make sure that the game stays entertaining. You can't just hoof the ball forward while all the attackers are just close to the gate. You got to play it through. You got to time your runs, etc. That's the reason the rule has been introduced. All right? There's a reason for rules. There's an overall structure of the game, and then the individual rules are there for a reason. What is the reason for you can't close on an ace? Because the ace of hearts, diamonds, and clubs. Ace, diamonds, and clubs. You can play that only as a regular card. So if you think out there that an ace that's not the ace of spades is not able to close. Of course, you can't close on a 2 or a joker. But in regular play, you can absolutely close using those cards. And if not, please explain to me the reason. That's all I want to know. Give me the reason for the rule. That's all I want.
So, explain why a 7 skips? Since we want to get all logical about Crazy 8. Literally a game with crazy in its title, you want to get logical. Why does a 7 skip and a Jack reverse? Tell us why.
You see, okay, Phil, what you're doing here is you're using false equivalencies. Cards have been assigned roles. That's what makes the game. So this card does this card does that, this card does that. That's that's the structure of the game. Now, to make the game interesting, rules have to put in place after the structure has been put in place. So an ace does this, a 2 does this, a 3 does this, etc., up till you get to the king. Once you finish all the cards, right? Now, when you're playing the game, you realize that, okay, we need to put rules to make sure that this game is fun, that feels fair, that people can enjoy playing it. So this rule is for this reason, this rule is for that reason, etc. So a 7 skips. That's the role that's been assigned to the card. An ace blocks when you're supposed to pick from a joker or from a 2. That's the role that's been assigned to the card. So now we have the structure of the game. Now, the rules apply. Can you close with an ace? Yes, except the ace of spades, because the ace of spades can be played on any card. Therefore, it's not fair to use to close because no one can block it. You can't strategize with it. Therefore, you can't close with it. But every other ace, it has the exact same rules on closing as a 3, 4, 5, etc. That's it. So, if you disagree, it's no problem. No problem. I'm happy to debate. Just give me the reason. Why can an ace not close? Help me understand. We move on.
Logic. Crazy 8. Heard it all.
As your tech ombudsman.
Oh, God.
We have appointed ourselves as the arbiters of information as it heads towards you around the world of technology. And of course, in recent episodes, we've been talking a lot about artificial intelligence. Or shall we keep calling it that? Let's just say AI for now. We're recording this on Tuesday. That means yesterday, Monday, Apple had its annual Worldwide Developers Conference, WWDC. When it first started, obviously, it was specifically meant to announce software changes so that developers can create apps, can create environments, use the APIs on phones and MacBooks and et cetera. But since then, it's become their marquee event where they announce huge things, including hardware. There's been a lot of hardware announcements at WWDC, but there was no hardware announcements this Monday. Many people were expecting the iPhone 16 would be announced. No, it wasn't. They announced a bunch of new stuff too. They announced the new Mac OS. It's going to be called Sequoia. They announced iOS 18, which is going to have a bunch of updates and different things that you can do. Most of it is like relatively minor stuff like, oh, you can now place app icons anywhere on your home screen, or you can now. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I can't really remember. None of it is super amazing or super impressive. It's pretty much expected because it existed on Android for a couple of years before, and now it's being introduced to Apple. That's Apple's business model. They've been doing it, and they've been successful at it, right? You said you're not going to lie?
This was the most boring, uneventful, yet concerning Apple announcement I've heard. Let me not speak in absolutes, but in recent memory.
Disagree.
We'll get into that, but killing Siri was necessary, but killing Siri and replacing it with OpenAI's product is concerning.
That's not what they did.
Okay,
let me tell you what happened. Did you watch the event?
Of course not. I watched the summary and I read the article.
All right. I watched. I mean, I can't say I was locked in, but I had it on while I was doing multiple other things, I guess. But anyway, let me give you an overall view of what happened. So all this other stuff was somewhat minor. A few like kind of interesting things. Oh, you can schedule text messages. Woohoo! I will say that there's a lot of businesses and apps that are going to suffer from the new updates. For example, things like 1Password and LastPass and maybe even BitLocker and stuff like that may suffer because Apple introduced their own. So previously, of course, you could the passwords and logins and all of that, you could access them through the phone. But now there's an app that actually stores them and holds them just the same way that you would have had with 1Password or BitLocker. So if you use a password manager, Apple now has an inbuilt password. It's just called passwords. So you can expect that a lot of those apps are going to struggle. Some other things that are obviously going to struggle are things like what's the app that I use? Phil, what's the app that you use to organize your windows in Mac?
I use the
Loom? No, not Loom.
where's the icon for it here? I even forgot what I use. I use Snap too.
I use Snap. Rectangle.
I use Snap.
Snap and Rectangle. All those apps are dead now because Apple now has that.
I'm keeping Snap. I'm not using the Apple one.
I mean, you can keep it, but it looks really good. It looks everything that you want from Snap, Rectangle, etc., etc. It's literally now native to Apple. But anyway, all those things are kind of like, Grammarly is going to struggle as well because they basically introduced inbuilt into the entire system almost exactly what Grammarly does. All those apps that allow you to record phone calls, you can now do that natively, etc., etc. Anything that you are using to mirror your phone, for example, to mirror your phone to your MacBook, Apple now does that natively. And again, it looks really impressive. But all of that is minor. You know what? If that was all the only announcements, I would agree with you. This was completely a non-event. The big issue, the big thing that they announced was Apple Intelligence. Now, we all knew that Apple was going to get involved in AI somewhere or another. For a long time, there were rumors that Apple and OpenAI were partnering. Somehow ChatGPT was going to be involved, blah, 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 blah. Cool. So basically what they announced is Apple have their own on-device large language model and generative AI. So they have their own version of what would be ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever that 100% acts on device. Then they said, of course, we know that this is limited because we're focusing on privacy and whatever. So it's on device. It's going to be very context aware. It's going to be very context aware to you as a person. But in cases where you need global stuff, your AI, which is Siri, it's basically reworked from the ground up Siri. Siri could say, do you want me to go to ChatGPT for this? Then it will connect to ChatGPT. You have to opt in for that. It's not an automatic thing. And then it will connect to ChatGPT. It doesn't create an account for you. I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe a generic Apple account or something like that. And then it can use ChatGPT to answer things. But that's an optional extra. It's not on device. On device is Apple's own artificial intelligence system. They're going to have image generation, but unlike Midjourney, DALL-E, etc., which have multiple ways and styles, Apple's image generation has 3 styles: sketch, animation, and what was that one? Sketch, animation, and I can't remember what it's called. In fact, let me pull it up. I'm sure I have it somewhere.
While you're pulling it up, Jan, none of this is this is all. This is like, okay, I don't mean. Apple just announced less good versions of stuff you can already get. Hey, do you like Midjourney? Cool. Here's a Midjourney with dramatically reduced functionality.
Let me explain why it's a big deal, Phil. The only people using Midjourney were nerds. You and me and people who are really plugged in and locked in. You got to download Discord. You got to get yourself a Discord account. Then you subscribe to it. And then you need to have specific ways of, you have to use the Imagine prompt. And then you have to prompt engineer your prompt, to get the image that you're looking for. So yes, for you, Midjourney is going to give you a better result than whatever Apple's done. What Apple's done is made all these tools, even ChatGPT, to a certain extent, it was the nerds who were using it. Now that it's available on device, on phone, and the way they've integrated it into basically the entire OS, we can fully expect that. I guess we won't know for sure if it's going to take off. But now, the everyday average person is going to have an extremely low boundary access to these AI tools. And now we're going to be able to see, I expect it will take a while. I expect it will take maybe even up to a year to figure out, is this something that is useful to an everyday person? Or is it just kind of like, it's like a nice little extra gimmick? And I don't think we'll be able to know the answer to that until a while goes past. But this is a big deal because it's literally taking this thing, which is almost exclusively for nerds. And I know it's not technically hundreds of millions of people have used ChatGPT. But the people who use it every day, the people who actually have found use cases for it in everyday life are the nerds. Now that there's Apple Intelligence, which by the way is what they call it, which I think is the dumbest name of all time. But anyway, now every time someone says AI, you won't be sure, do they mean Apple Intelligence or artificial intelligence? I don't know, good marketing or not, you decide. But now that it's been so simplified, They literally they guide you on the prompt. So you say, I want this. Okay, which style? This. This, and you get your image. I'm so curious to see how much of an impact this is going to have on the average everyday person's life. So again, this is kind of what Apple does, right? Yes, Samsung and Huawei and whatever else and Google's phones, Pixel phones and whatever, they're gonna create all these amazing features. But the average everyday person doesn't use them.
But
then Apple takes that same feature and then now it feels like Apple invented it because
let's have this discussion
dumbed down and all of that.
Let's have this discussion here. Well, it's hard for me to pose this question because you're not, and also your wife is also a bit technically savvy. So, but let's consider our mothers. Perfect example. Let's consider our mothers. Both of our mothers come to us and it's like, hey, baby, I need a new phone. You're techie. I need your advice. Don't worry, I'm going to pay for it. Just tell me which is the best phone I should get. But, I don't have an incredible budget, but, I've got something. All I really need is photos so I can take photos of my kids and my grandkids, WhatsApp, calls, good battery life, decent screen. The basic things our mothers would need a phone for, right? And we go into a store, and in that store, there's a Google Pixel at MSRP. There's a Samsung Galaxy at MSRP. And there's an iPhone at MSRP. And by default, the iPhone is going to be $300-$400 more expensive. Mm-hmm. So your mom's like, okay, what does this phone that's more expensive than these other phones have that justifies the price? And then you're going to list everything, right? You're going to be like, okay, you get iMessage. She's like, I don't care. All my friends are on WhatsApp. Okay, cool. You get better image quality. Yeah, well, the Pixel and the Galaxy seem to take good images. I'm happy with that. Battery life. Everyone seems to have pretty comparable battery life. Screens. Can't really tell the difference. And then the selling point is, okay, mom, listen. There's this new Siri. And Siri uses natural language to allow you to schedule meetings. Oh, she just woke up. No, down, girl, down. She allows you to schedule meetings with natural language. Okay. And by the way, mom, when you have your friend's birthday, because one of the things you can do using these emojis that you can generate in the thing is like create birthday cards. Remember, like, whenever your friend's birthdays come up or there's a wedding or whatever, you can generate the image with the card with the people's faces and it'll look really cool. And she'll be like, do you think that pitch is going to be like, you know what? I'm spending the extra money on this phone. This is a life-saving feature that I need. This is something that has got me excited because these are the everyday consumers we're talking about and these are the features we're talking about. How is this exciting them?
So the scenario you've described, I don't believe is a real world scenario. Let me rework it to what I believe is the real world. Okay? You walk into a store, here are the options in front of you. Latest iPhone, latest Samsung, latest Huawei, latest Google Pixel, latest, Redmi. The first and most obvious one is price, right? The latest flagship Samsung and iPhone will probably be in the same price region, but the other phones might be a bit lower. Cool. So price out of the way. Obviously, price will probably be the first and most important distinction to the average person. An average person who's not thinking that far, who's not thinking price will be the first determinant. But we are thinking from a Zimbabwean perspective. The rest of the world are doing contracts. The rest of the world are getting contracts with carriers.
When you say rest of the world, who do you mean? Like, let's be specific.
All right. I'm talking, when I say rest of the world, I mean first world. And not even just first world, most of whatever is in between first world and third world. So for example, just over the border in South Africa, most people are not buying phones brand new. They're getting contracts with Vodacom, Cell C, etc., etc. And on those contracts, they choose which phone they want. The difference in price is literally tens of rands. In some cases, maybe 100 rands difference. So for most people, they're going to choose what they want rather than the cheaper most. Well, okay, again, I have to qualify that when I say most people, I do understand. Obviously, there's people who can't afford, right? So they're just going to get whatever the cheapest is. But let's assume we're talking about people who are gainfully employed and are making a choice based on should I pay $300 a month or $320 a month? You know what I'm saying? So in general, for a lot of people, they're going to choose their preference. Okay. So just that out of the way. I'm making that as a disclaimer for the rest of the world. But anyway, let's consider. Let's just say we're talking about in Zimbabwe. You've taken your moms to the Econet shop, and you're going to pay cash for a brand new phone. So the first thing you're going to consider is obviously price. The second thing, to the average person, whether it's true or not, the perception is it's easier to use an iPhone. The marketing and the general market perception of an iPhone is that's the easiest phone in terms of usability. Whether that's true or not is obviously up for debate. The people who generally like Android-based phones love the idea that you can customize more, you have more control over it, etc., which, again, appeals to the nerds. But to the average person, they're not interested in that. The average person's, I want a phone that will just do what I want it to do. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, you can load ChatGPT onto your Android phone, and for that matter, onto your iPhone. But like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be the more tech savvy or at least tech curious people who are going to be using it. The average, like our moms and our aunties and our uncles, I mean, outside of interests here and there, they're not going to use it. The thing that our aunties and uncles and our moms and our dads might use it for is, oh, I can get a recipe on this. And that's if you show it to them multiple times that, oh yeah, actually, you could just go and then say, please make an apple pie recipe for me. These are the ingredients I have. And they're like, damn, this is pretty cool. I used to Google this and then scroll through several items, but this can give it to me faster. Nice, right? The average person, that's what they're going to do. The rest of us who are a little bit more savvy, and that's, again, the minority, we're now going to be like, yo, I could use this to, maybe I need to write out an email. Maybe I need to send a message. Maybe I need to do some research. Maybe I need a quick summary of an article. Maybe I'm about to get into a discussion with someone about a particular topic and I don't know enough about it. I can get this info from ChatGPT. Cool. If that is native to your phone, native to your iPhone, I think so many more people are going to access those basic functions of generative AI. And I think, obviously, this is early iterations of Siri. As the technology gets better, as we're going to be able to get, because right now they're talking about stuff like generating emojis, which they call Genmojis and stuff like that, which I think a lot of, especially younger people, are going to do, creating their own custom emojis and and creating custom stickers and using generative AI. And then for text, it's the same thing it's literally the same thing that we saw with Google's announcement and OpenAI's announcement. So for example, with Google's, like it's gonna go through your emails and it can provide a summary and It's happening on the phone. Let me tell you one seemingly minor update, but I think it will make a huge difference. You don't feel when you're scrolling through whatever mail app you use, you're going to have the subject of the mail, and then you'll get a preview of the first 2 or 3 lines of that mail. Apple introducing their AI tools, they're going to say, instead of getting the first 2 or 3 lines, what you're going to get is an AI summary of what that email is about. When I saw that, I was like, that seems minor, not a big deal. But then I thought about it. Yo, text messages, notifications, emails, all of that, native to the OS, inbuilt in the OS, you're going to get AI-generated summaries of what that email is. So the email subject line will be whatever. The summary will literally say, email from Phil asking what time we're recording the podcast today. Rather than, yo, what's up? I was feeling a bit sick, which is the lines that I would have seen first anyway. To me, it's a small quality of life adjustment. It's tiny. But that would make a decision between, should I buy the iPhone or should I buy the Samsung? Samsung might not be able to do that because maybe they need Google's Gemini to be able to do that. But Google's Gemini is a separate app, not Samsung itself. It could be baked into the OS, maybe. Maybe it could be, but it wouldn't be as smooth and seamless as Apple's.
Why wouldn't it be done? But the Samsung email app is the Google email app. It's just a wrapper on it. And you can have the Google email app on any Android phone.
Yes, and you could probably have the Gmail app on it, to be honest. And you'd probably have Gmail set up that way. But this is something that Apple introduced. And just that's like...
But Dan, they didn't introduce it. It's on Gemini now. And okay, I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted you to speak. But
No. It's not true. Yes, email summaries on Gemini. but the preview of the email didn't have the summary. And I'm using email as an example. And the reason I said native to the OS is because it's not just email. It's notifications, WhatsApp messages, text messages, Telegram messages, any other message, because it's native to the app. So while on a Samsung, you would need separate sort of some. You would
but
need
you
to
wouldn't
integrate that
that.
separately.
But this is my confusion here, and it's not to diminish that. It's a nice advancement, right? But there's absolutely nothing from what I've seen with. It's actually a little bit annoying because Google was already ahead of this. Google had this, the summary you speak of used to be Google Inbox before they sunsetted that app. That's literally what Google Inbox used to do 5 years ago, which is another thing we've discussed before, where machine learning and adversarial networks have now been rebranded as AI. And sometimes it's not really AI. These are things that have been in the public sphere for many years. So everything you've described, well, in terms of the email summary, hold on. In terms of the email summary,
I shouldn't have used email as an example.
I get what you're saying, but
Google has a native.
The overarching thought that you've given me here is this is not something I believe to be incredibly novel that cannot be easily replicated by the competition very quickly.
Okay, one, yes, it's not something novel. That is the story of Apple since who knows? It's almost iPhone 3G. iPhone was novel.
Those first 2 points are very closely linked. It's not about it being new. It's being this thing.
But secondly,
you're not leaps ahead of your competition.
But I disagree. I don't believe it's easily replicable. So, for example, when you get a notification on your app that you've got a new WhatsApp, you see the first couple of lines. For you to get an AI summary of those first couple of lines, you would need Google Gemini integrated into
and this is where, Dan, I think your blind spot is because you've been away from Android for so long. Android already does forms of this already. Like literally does this in your My Notification pane.
Okay, so let me add something else to this. This is not a debate of which one is better, Android or Apple. Neither is this a debate of which one is better, Samsung or Apple.
No,
that's not what
the debate is whether I'm excited.
No, that's not what the debate is. The debate was to the average person who's not a tech savvy nerd or whatever, will this be a game changer? That's what the debate is. So you're sitting here saying, yes, it's possible to do this, and say, of course, everything on an iPhone is possible to do on an Android. Absolutely. But it's not happening. It's not happening natively, and most people are not going to install the settings and the apps and the customizations that will be necessary to get those settings. Neither can it be sold that way out the box, because we're talking about multiple different apps, and we're talking about Samsung that is running their own version of Android, and on that Android, they've installed a version of their mail app, and then on top of that, they also have a separate ChatGPT app, or they have a Gemini app. If you're telling me that every Android device will have Gemini natively baked into the app, and that means every OS manufacturer is then going to make sure that Gemini is going to have full access to all of their apps, then it's very likely that it could be just as well possible to do that. But I think for them to get to that stage, Apple will have already collected everyone. And it's not necessarily that they'll be doing it better. And obviously we know they're not doing it first. My point in this whole debate is not, did it already exist on Android? Of course, everything Apple has introduced already existed on Android. Maybe it's even better on Android. The difference is, when it comes on Apple, it's made to seem as if you don't have to do anything, you just now get access to it. Again, whether that's true or not is up for debate. But the perception is, oh snap, Apple just invented an iPad calculator app that has math notes. I am 100% aware that there's apps exist that do that.
Oh, good.
But the fact that this is baked into the iPad, that's going to make it mainstream. That's going to make it the average auntie and uncle, and even just regular person who's an accountant, a fireman, freaking entrepreneur, designer, whatever, who's not plugged into everyday technology, will be using something that has already existed for years but was fringe on Android. That's the whole thing of, and every time, not you and me, I just mean every time I see there's a debate in general about this kind of thing, people's go-to is, this already existed. And I feel like people don't get it. Did you see what the Samsung account was tweeting the whole time WWDC was going on? I feel like someone needs to check on them. Whoever admin was. We already did this 3 years ago. We already did this Yes. And maybe you even do it better. But Apple Intelligence, again, I hate that name, but Siri in one fell swoop is now going to become the most used. Oh, sorry. Damn, I need to turn off Siri listening. Is going to become the most used AI tool. Just bam, just like that. It's going to become the most, it's going to overtake ChatGPT, it's going to overtake Google Gemini. Just by virtue of the fact that it's on 1 billion devices. And the average person who's not
that's another thing you need to, the caveat is a lot of these Apple Intelligence features are only reserved for the top spec iPhones.
True. So it's not top spec, it's Apple 15 and up, and that's because they did the whole neural engine.
Exactly.
So it's Apple.
So basically, if you don't have an M1 equivalent, iPad, MacBook, iPhone,
exactly.
Okay. So it's not a billion phones.
Okay, that's a fair caveat. But I think in terms of Apple's cycle of upgrades, it's going to be a couple of years before everyone has that particular. Will that drive people to buy iPhone 15s and up? I think it will. So I'm not here. I'm not trying to debate. Is it better or is it worse? Is it amazing? What I'm trying to say is to the average. That's why I think it's such a big deal that it's not anything groundbreaking. It's not anything novel, but it's been packaged for the average mom and pop, auntie and uncle, regular person just to be using AI tools. And I think this is going to be the real test of, is AI really useful? Of course, it's got some useful, specific cases. And we've discussed these. And there's particular organizations that use them. And individually, I found that there's many places, loads of places that I use ChatGPT or Gemini or Midjourney or DALL-E or whatever. And I use them and I actually get, it helps my productivity. I've seen places I can plug it in. But it's not, I wouldn't say that yet, up to date, it's literally industry changing. I think this is going to be the litmus test of, is it industry changing? Now that the everyday, regular, normal person
with an iPhone 15,
same way that when it's not going to be today, but a year from now, I would imagine that the number of people that own iPhone 15s and up is gonna blow up. It's gonna blossom just because of this feature. I'm trying to see if there was any other announcements in what they did there. That was specifically a huge deal.
I'm struggling to remember anything because it was so boring. I genuinely. Oh yeah, we can now change the color of our widgets and our icons. We can reorder the widgets in our control center. We
all
can
of that
match.
was trash. But something that Apple is light years ahead of Google, and I'd say better than OpenAI at, is their events and presentation.
Yeah,
people were using stunt doubles and freaking. It was actually entertaining to watch, even though it was, and all their presenters, I don't know if they're coached or they only hire you if you are good at public speaking, but like every single presenter of theirs is good at presenting, as opposed to Google, where you literally see like, Shane, could you just leave this person?
I just like to speak to you about our new Google system Pixel. So I spent many
But
years.
anyway, that being beside, I agree with you. Everything up to the Apple Intelligence thing was like, this could literally have just been. This could have been.
This announcement could have been an email. That's all I'm going to say. This announcement could have been an email.
Not even an email. You know when you get those, when you get an update, then you get like those notes. Change what they call it, change log.
Yeah.
This literally could have been change log. But the Apple Intelligence, if OpenAI and Google Gemini hadn't announced all their things, this would have been mind blowing. But the fact that they already announced it, and some of them is even more advanced than what Apple's doing, it means it's kind of meh to the techies. But to the average, everyday person, I am convinced this is a big deal. To the average, normal, everyday person. No insult to anyone when I say average, normal. I just mean if you're not plugged into tech like that. This now comes into your everyday sphere. So let's say you have an iPhone 11 and you're thinking, no, I don't really need to update. It's all good. My iPhone 11 is working just fine. Then you find out, oh, okay, cool. iPhone 15, or let's say iPhone 16, whenever it gets announced. iPhone 16 will give me access to all these tools. You know what? It's about time that I upgrade. So you upgrade to your iPhone 16. I think that this is going to be I think a year or 2 years from now, we're going to be like, you know what? That's when the change happened, or that's when we realize that AI is nothing more than a little bit of a gimmick. And it's going to be because of Apple. That's what I think. If there's any other interesting generating summaries, that's already happening with OpenAI and Google Gemini. Now Apple will be able to do that. Something I found interesting was their Photos app, and how they integrated AI into it. So all kinds of things like facial recognition and pet recognition and generating.
I'm trying not to be the Samsung account right now. I'm just
of course, Phil. This must be a given. If we're discussing something new from Apple, it already existed. Yes, it already existed. It's cool, Ziva. But the average person who owned a Samsung didn't download or didn't integrate any of these customizations or apps or whatever the case is.
They're inbuilt. Download. They're inbuilt. When you open the photo app, it asks you. Yo.
Yeah, okay. So Apple does that already. It already has like facial recognition. But what they announced was essentially AI tools that will basically create, I think what they were really pushing was whole creating movies out of your photos for memories and stuff like that, which I've never really, I think I've seen the option available on my phone, but I've never really used it. I don't know. It's like, why would I do that? But anyway, again, I recognize that I'm an old man. Honestly, the calculator app looks mal. The whole math notes thing looks mal. It does
look mal, but Goodreads does. You know what? Apple needs to get sued. So as much as Dan is praising it, there's a common theme, which is Sherlocked, and that's what Apple does. There used to be an app called Sherlock that allowed you to search through, and then Apple killed it when they brought Spotlight Search, and this has continued throughout iterations of iOS, where like even the Shortcuts app. The Shortcuts app actually used to be another app called Workflow. That was really, really dope back in the day. And I think I bought it for like $20, but the things I could do on it were incredible. And then Apple bought it, created the Shortcuts app that's now all over macOS, and it's got a lot less functionality because obviously Apple was like, we're closing down the hacks, we're just using it for what we want to do. What will be interesting is to see how this new Siri replacement integrates with... Oh, shut up! I'm not talking to you. What this Isri, there we go. This Isri replacement, how it integrates with Workflow.
That's so lame.
Because Workflow is really dope, but it's really nerdy. Like you can set automations, but there's a bit of a learning curve. I don't know if you've used it, Dan, but there's multiple things I've used it. So like if you want to get really nerdy with coding, you can use it to create a shortcut to download videos. Wherever you are on the internet. So I've got one that downloads videos for me from Twitter, one that downloads videos for me from Instagram, through the Shortcuts app. I've got when I get home, turn me to this profile. You can do things like if I open the YouTube app, turn screen lock off so that when I turn my phone, it automatically goes into landscape mode without me having to turn the lock on. And then when I close YouTube, turn lock back on. Stuff like that. When I connected the car, drop volume to 50%. Or when I connected the car, immediately open Spotify. Stuff like that is useful, but it's very nerdy. And if I had a smart home, it would be even much more useful. Like at 6 p.m., turn the lights on to this. But that was also a Sherlocking, quote unquote, of if this, then that, and a number of other automation apps. So that will be interesting to see, but all the great features Dan highlighted, like the summary stuff. There are a few apps that do it. I'm spacing on their names right now, but I know for a fact Grammarly, their stock price is probably tanked right now. Midjourney's stock is probably tanked right now. Adobe, granted they deserve it, they might also be under pressure if Apple starts creeping into the content creation, image generation space that some people have started to use Adobe for. Because we know Adobe, the professionals who use Adobe Premiere and so forth, but there's also there's Adobe Rush and Adobe Spark. What did they change its name to again? Adobe I've got it here.
Spark became
Adobe Express. There we go.
Yes.
And Adobe Express is a great.
I'm so mad because I used to use that.
It's still the same. I use
some.
Adobe Express as well. Adobe Express is really good. It's like Canva but better. And the great thing about Adobe Express is I can import PSD files.
When was the last time you used Canva?
It's around. I've sworn off Canva for quite some time.
So I promise you, Canva is freaking incredible right now. I was using Canva and then I discovered Spark and I was like, oh snap, this feels better than Canva. And I used it for a while. But trust me, just give Canva. Canva is I can't even hate on it. Canva is dope. I was so mad at Canva because I accidentally paid for a year's subscription and I couldn't refund it. Oh. But anyway, in the midst, I let's just get we've been somewhat nerdy, but I feel like
we're going on an hour of nerddom. Dan, the waters are.
I want to get a little.
All the women have tuned out. We've done nothing but create extreme levels of anti-arousal across the board. It's bad,
ladies. You know what I'm saying? Love Island. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what are women into. Okay, wait. So. Here's a very interesting. There's two discussions I want to have. The first one, which is a little bit more of the obvious one, is the privacy discussion. So Elon Musk, by the way, had a very, very negative reaction to this whole Apple announcement, because when he discovered that Apple has partnered with OpenAI, he tweeted, if Apple integrates OpenAI at the OS level, then Apple devices will be banned at my companies. That is an unacceptable security violation. He says, and visitors will have to check their Apple devices at the door where they will be stored in a Faraday cage. Right? So, okay, by the way, Elon is a troll. He says stuff that is completely unverified, and obviously...
That's something you have to do. Elon's a racist.
He's also a racist. He's a, he's from South African apartheid era. Of which my wife laughs at me every time I say apartheid. It's like, this is how you say it. Apartheid. Anyway. So, on the issue of privacy, there's four major players in the world of AI. Number one, obviously, is OpenAI. Number two is Google with Gemini. Number three is Meta with their AI tools. But honestly, I feel like no one's kind of paying attention to them. And now Apple is entering.
Meta's AI is the Internet Explorer of the AI world.
Shit, man. It's the edge of the AI world. Maybe it's good, but we'll never know. So those are the four major players. Of course, there's other. I know there's others, but I'm talking about the major players with the biggest money on the line. So I know there's Perplexity and Claude and all of those there, but I feel like those are the four major players. OpenAI, Google, and Meta have a terrible privacy background. OpenAI have been, in fact, no one even really knows what their motives are. Sam Altman is a bit of a shady dude. OpenAI.
Sorry to detract, Dan. Did you read the OpenAI white paper that they dropped late last week? Which is to help explain how they come to results and show, like, just give a little bit of transparency to how they go. That's when Dan, you and I think we're nerds. We're not nerds. We're not even close to being nerds. That white paper opened up with algorithmic calculations. And I was like, it's cool. It's cool. You know what?
Don't you kind of wish you were plugged in like that, Phil?
Fam.
I kind of feel a little bit. I kind of feel like I wish I was.
I wish I was, but I could barely just complete algorithmic equations as a concept. Now I have to understand them as a principle. Guys, I'm not that nerdy. I'm sorry. I tried.
There's other AI news about the Chinese version of Sora and video generation, which it was blowing everyone out of the water. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But anyway, coming back to this issue of privacy. OpenAI is a little bit shady. No one really knows how they're moving. Sam Altman is a bit shady.
The super alignment team has resigned.
They resigned. The super alignment team left. The whole, even the way they train their models has been shady. So, for example, they invented this whole transcription sort of algorithm just so they could go through all the YouTube videos so they can get the transcripts of it as part of their training models, which goes against YouTube's terms of service. But YouTube didn't say anything because Google was doing the same with their own Gemini. But anyway, the point is OpenAI is a little shady when it comes to privacy. Google, let's not even talk about it. Anything that's on Google servers may as well be on your public town square notice board. Facebook, even worse. Facebook probably looks for your ops and then gives them, like a notification like, yo, do you want some dirt on Phil? We understand you might be
Facebook was in Kendrick's DMs every morning during that beef.
Yeah, Drake is sending rat emojis to people. Nah, son. It was probably Meta and Facebook that were like, yo, you want some dirt on Drake? We got you, son. So even if Apple's privacy is not ideal, it is leaps and bounds ahead of the other three major AI players in the game.
But let's also not forget, Apple's privacy is a failure that became a feature. Apple had no desires or
which
intents
is smart, to be honest,
to adopt privacy. However, they tried to build an ad network, which failed, and then they tried to also build CRM models, which failed, if I'm not mistaken. And then they were like, okay, we can't compete. Oh, and also Apple Cloud. Sorry, Apple Cloud was actually a big loss lead as well. And then
I would say it was a feature that became a failure, and then they pivoted brilliantly to make it a feature. So it was feature failure feature.
Yeah,
and because their whole walled garden thing sort of didn't lend to the same idea of public information the way Google.
And then I think they realized with market consolidation and control, the best way to do this is to bring everything in-house, vertically integrate, and create massive walls in your walled garden. So the privacy thing made a lot of sense because it would be a feature, but also it makes the walled garden, the walls of the walled garden higher. So Dan was announcing all these features, for example. So you got a password manager. It's now controlled by Apple. So you can only access it on an Apple device. You've got Notes that you share. And Notes, when you got Apple devices, great. It's a lovely app. Try using the web version of Notes. Good luck. Right?
I mean, that's what I'm using right now because I'm not using my Mac.
Yeah. Apple Contacts.
It works, but it's not great.
Yeah. Apple Contacts, same thing. Apple Mail app, same thing. Apple Mail, hide my email. All these features that are kind of very useful and they're dope. Like one feature that I have to admit, and that highlights some of this vertical integration. I think I told you that my niece and nephew, they were around recently, very rambunctious children. They broke the Apple TV remote. So the remote for this Apple TV, I've been struggling to find a replacement online, whatever. I don't even need a remote, Dan. I've got Apple devices.
Your phone, iPad.
Literally, all I do is I just swipe down. Even if the Apple TV is off, it wakes up from the phone. It's the integration is insane. I was fooling around with this karaoke thing. So we had karaoke night. You play Apple Music on the Apple TV. You just take your Apple phone, you pair it with the Apple TV. It drops the lyrics, the audio of the lyrics down.
Okay, this is so funny that you call that Apple phone. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, the Apple phone, yeah. You do that, and then the Apple phone has the camera, and then you point the camera, and then it has the video, and then it puts some effects, and it puts the person singing the karaoke in like a music video with the lyrics on the left. It's it's beautiful, lovely, but there's a cost to pay for that because whenever I want to watch a movie that I have on my hard drive and I can't access the Plex, so I'm just like, screw it, let me just put it on a flash stick. That's why I can plug the flash stick into the TV. That's kind of insane, right? I've got a TV device, but I can't plug in any external audio unless I have a Mac server or an Apple home server, which will read it. And these are the things that they do to complicate your life and keep you locked in. And
I'm sure there's going to be an antitrust something.
There already is.
Sometime soon.
There already was. Well, the antitrust is for the App Store, but now for this, I think there's so many apps who can now display market market with a D, market loss or market penetration failure because of Apple, that it's going to start get dicey. Like, how does Grammarly stand up for this? Like on Apple devices? Well, granted, Grammarly is
you're not Phil. The difficulty will be proving that it's bad for consumers.
No,
because honestly,
no. And that's the other thing you got to remember. That is only in America. The EU has a very different definition to antitrust.
No, it's other way around.
Yeah.
EU is very much about consumers, and America is more about the enterprises and business and so on. But even then, it's still going to be so. Okay, you mentioned the whole sort of like how things work well together. Your phone, your Apple TV, whatever. It's going to be even doper in iOS 18 and Sequoia from their descriptions. I was talking about iPhone mirroring. It was literally, you hear a notification from your phone, you literally open your phone on your Mac while you're working. You get the same notifications. You can control your phone from your Mac, close that, go. It's the fact that you can have your iPad seamlessly as a second screen, all that kind of stuff is dope. If you have all those devices, it's dope. But it makes it so hard for anyone else to enter that ecosystem. And I don't think it's going to be a very simple and straightforward, yo, this is not fair because Grammarly no longer works. Yeah, I mean, make a better product. Do you know what I mean? Because we didn't, if Apple proves that we didn't block Grammarly, we simply just made a better product. It's going to be so hard for Grammarly to fight that or any other app. Because the ultimate fight is you blocked us from making a potential competitor or from making something that could make money or whatever. That's where the fight is. If Apple simply says, no, we don't block you, you can. You absolutely can. Make Grammarly. It's there. In fact, we will promote it for you in the App Store. But why would anyone download it if your iPhone is now natively doing everything that Grammarly does? By the way, you have to pay Grammarly for it and it's all free on Apple. Side note, while we're talking about it, I found it so weird that after they finished announcing all these Apple Intelligence features and whatever, they were like, Apple Intelligence is available free on every iPhone. That felt so weird to me because it was like saying, you can now make calls for free on your iPhone, or you can receive text messages for free on, like, what do you, surely, of course it is. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's fine. Okay. Anyway, that's the issue. Just a quick discussion about privacy. Apple somehow managed to pivot their failure to make money off of ads into, oh no, we're big about privacy. And the entire WWDC was huge on that. So shout out to them. They've clearly jumped on something that people care about. But the second thing I was going to talk about is, this is where we come in as tech ombudsmen. All right, listeners, listen to me. You've probably heard a little bit about how AI, before this it was crypto, but now AI impacts the environment. This is probably not a big deal to you because what do you mean? Not a big deal. Maybe you heard this week that the second most valuable company in the world by market cap is NVIDIA.
Mm-hmm.
That happened this past week. It used to be Apple. Apple used to be the most valuable, then Microsoft overtook it, and then now it's literally Microsoft, NVIDIA, Apple. They both have over $3 trillion in market cap, or $3 trillion in market cap. But NVIDIA sort of stands out because if you were to measure their yearly, like annual revenue versus, every other metric they use, I'm not accountant, NVIDIA are much lower than Microsoft and Apple. The reason NVIDIA is so popular is because they are making the chips that are being used in all these AI tools. And that's made NVIDIA so valuable because whether it's OpenAI or Microsoft or Apple, well, Apple makes their own in-house chip, but I have no doubts that they also use NVIDIA products. NVIDIA are making the chips, the graphics cards, which ultimately is the chips, and all the tools that are being used for all this AI revolution. All these companies that are doing AI, whether it's Canva, Microsoft, the small companies, the big companies, they're all buying from NVIDIA. And that's how NVIDIA has become. That's a super simplified explanation. And I'm sure that someone out there is like, it's not just that, you idiot. It's also because that. Cool. I'm not an economist, but I know that's one of the major factors. Now, NVIDIA just announced their latest chip, which is, I'm being super nerdy here. It's their Blackwell GPUs, And their Blackwell GPUs.
Then I'm putting a time limit on this. Like, Dan.
I'm going to be very quick. I want to try and explain why this is a big deal to everyone.
Hold on.
Their Blackwell GPUs.
While you announce this, I'm going to play something to like bring the women back.
No. Hold on. I'm almost done. I'm gonna super simplify this and make it short. Their Blackwell GPUs are 1,200 watts in terms of power usage. Your typical average computer is 100, maybe 200 watts. Now, these huge cloud server farms will have thousands of devices running these chips. We're talking about potentially tripling, quadrupling power output just to power all this AI stuff. So I want Phil, stop it, man. Phil, stop it. I want the average person to think like, this doesn't bother me, this doesn't worry me, that's whatever. But for us to run all this AI stuff, from training to actually running it, it is very likely that first world is probably going to start experiencing power cuts because there's not enough power.
And do you know what they don't have in the first world then? Solar.
Generators. Solar. Inverters. Welcome. That's what I wanted to say. Well, it's going to happen. And many experts are saying like, yo, because of everything getting more efficient, all this technology is making things more efficient. For the past several decades, the trend has been we're using less power and less power. All of a sudden, in recent years, there's been a jump to like we're now using 50% more power, 100%, 200% more power. And all these power plants are not equipped to do this. And it takes decades to equip them to match that power. So I expect America, Europe, Asia are going to start experiencing load shedding. Welcome!
So if any listeners in the international sphere, especially in the UK, America, across Europe and Asia, we're going to batter. Dinema solar panel, dinema 3 kVA inverter, and dinema my gel battery. Lithium ion is that sugar, but my gel battery. I got a T, okay, slightly used.
You have a Tesla. Would I Tesla in you? Motor battery. No, see, okay, it sounds like I'm joking, but a lot of experts have said that you can expect in the coming years as economies and countries adjust to the super juiced power demands, it will take decades, maybe a full decade, let me say, to be able to meet those demands. So it's very possible that load shedding might be introduced in the coming years. My fingers are crossed. Oh, please, we can't be suffering alone here. Please. That's the other thing I wanted to say. Okay, that was an overview of WWDC. To very quickly summarize it to the average person, Apple has now introduced their own version of AI. So it's like ChatGPT or Gemini, but on Apple, it's called Apple Intelligence. It also connects to OpenAI's ChatGPT as they have a partnership, but it's an opt-in. You can choose to use it if you want. And a bunch of new stuff as well, not just for iPhones, but for iPads, new WatchOS, new Vision OS, which, by the way, I don't think anyone is really interested in. So, yeah.
But they've released a version 2.0, Dad. 2.0.
Woohoo. In my life, if I come across a Vision OS or a Vision Pro, the charger, babe. Cool. Let's move on, Philip. Shall we talk about? Oh my goodness, we're 1 hour into the podcast.
I told you, Dan. I told you. You know what? I've got it. Let's quick 30 seconds just to cleanse the palate.
Hey. I'm not toxic. I'm deadly.
Oh.
Like a mess and be messy. I pop shit, pop ass on jet ski. Hickory dickory dock. They take my pic to the dock. Like
I can feel them coming back, Dan. I feel them coming back. We got them.
But Philip,
guess I'm a teacher since you wanna sub me.
Hold on. We gotta wait for the shots.
She was on the shelf at IKEA. I'm stuck like that when I see her. Please don't nobody wanna pay her.
There we go. They're back.
But Philip, why do you want us to be taken down from Spotify quickly?
Dad, I have a problem with authority. Also, they haven't taken down episodes in 2 weeks. After I asked, miraculously they've stopped checking.
Have you been paying attention to Sabrina Carpenter, Phil?
I don't even know. This is deep in white woman business.
So I don't know what's going on with my Twitter algorithm, but all of a sudden I've got a lot of Sabrina Carpenter drama coming up on my Twitter. And I was like, who the hell is that? I don't think I've even heard her music. But apparently there's some drama. I don't know what it is. I didn't investigate, but there's some drama going on. Listen, if you know what's going on, please let me know. Anyway, Young Thug. So there's a bit of a discussion about Young Thug in the group. What's going on, Philip? I actually don't know. I need you to explain to me.
It's so layered and complicated. I'm going to try to give you a brief summary. Excuse me. Essentially, this trial continues. There's a witness that was called to the stand. Then this witness refused to testify. Then he said he was going to plead the fifth. And then they recessed for the weekend. Yesterday, which was a Monday, they returned to court. This person was giving testimony, but he was giving like comically bad testimony. He was like, what's your name? I was like, I don't know what my name is. Do you know this person? He like my son. Is he your son? No, he like my son. Okay, do you know? Okay, looking at this photo, who is this person? I don't know who that is. And they're like, okay, would you say this person is Dan? I don't know if it's Dan, but it kind of looks like Dan. Maybe, I don't know. No, you know, like that real hardcore, no snitching attitude. To comical levels. There's an account called Not a Lawyer who's summarizing it, and that's what was shared in the group. And it's hilarious because he compiles like the highlights of the day's activities. So while all this is happening, Young Thug's lawyer approaches the judge and says, hey, I understand you guys had a meeting with this witness this morning and you didn't notify me. Based on that information and based on the laws of Georgia, I would like to push for mistrial. The judge says, hey, you weren't entitled to know about this meeting because this is a meeting between me and the defense. Also, I need to know who told you this because this is privileged information and it should not be shared because meetings that are held in my chambers are private. Young Thug's lawyer is like, nah, I'm not telling you told me, but that meeting was not supposed to happen without my knowledge. This is witness tampering because this person, the same person that I had the meeting about and with, was the witness that refused to testify on Friday, then suddenly testified on Monday, the bad testimony I just summarized earlier. And he was like, nah, I'm not telling you, you told me. The judge is like, tell me or I'm going to put you in contempt of court. He was like, I'm not going to tell you, sir. Then he put this man in contempt. Then he called up another high-powered lawyer and a group of other lawyers came to his side in solidarity with him. And she said, and now there was an argument of whether the contempt was criminal or civil. Essentially in America, civil contempt means that the judge can lock you in prison indefinitely until you abide by what he's asked you, what the court is compelling you to do. Criminal contempt has 20 days. So there was now an argument of whether it was civil. It's a great back and forth. But amongst all this, I was trying to understand because like with the Young Thug fans, they were like, okay, this is a mistrial. This is a mistrial. I was like, let me try to get some feedback from someone who's more knowledgeable. That's the very abbreviated version of events, but it is wild because it is dramatic as hell. Dan, this is like a TV show. There's twists and turns all about, and it is great. I granted, I know people have died. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make light of the fact that people have died. People have been hurt, whatever that may be. But this had me remembering. I don't know if you were around then or if you watched it, but like remember the second Michael Jackson trial? Every evening, like Johnny Cochran and people would be on E! Entertainment summarizing the day's activities. We need it for this. Why isn't there a daily summary of this?
I believe there are, Phil. In our group, we were sharing some TikToks. Let's keep it for our Patreon group if you would like to know some of the great discussions we have in there. TwoBrokeTwimbos.com/donate. And you too can be part of some of the dynamic conversations that happen in that group. I don't know how to explain this. I'm on the periphery of watching this trial happen, and I get a little bit of interest here and there. But I'm waiting for the Netflix documentary. Philip.
That's my name.
Zimbabwe versus South Africa has just finished.
This is in the soccer ball.
Yes, the game literally just finished. This is FIFA World Cup 2026 qualifying match.
Did they move eight defense this time? Did they move eight defense?
Zimbabwe lost 3-1.
No.
But Tawanda Chirewa, who's a Zimbabwean who plays for Wolves, I believe we've mentioned him before, he scored a goal, and apparently he had a really good game. Of course, we didn't watch it. We were recording this podcast. But so that's the thing. Now Zimbabwe has lost 2 games in a row playing at home, which is in South Africa. So I don't know what this means. We just lost both games to Lesotho and to South Africa.
It means
So
our
we are
kick
probably
ball
not
no
gonna
good.
play.
Our kick ball no good. Did you see that clip of the man complaining about the Zimbabwean Warriors and how we don't move eight defense? I need to find that clip. It's hilarious.
I did not. But while we're talking about sports, there should have been Zimbabweans doing it big, I guess, or Africans doing it big. But, we have the team that's performing at the Zimbabwe, or that's representing Zimbabwe at the 2024 Summer Olympics. That could be happening in Paris from the 26th of July to the 11th of August, 2024. We have 2 disciplines where Zimbabwe will be represented, athletics and rowing. We have 4 people representing us in athletics. That's in men's 200 meters. We have 2 people, Makanaka Ishe Charamba and Tapiwa Nashe Makarau. And then we have 1 person in men's marathon. That's Isaac Mpofu. And 1 person in women's marathon, Rutendo Nyaora. And then we have 1 person in rowing. His name is, I guess it's not a person, it's a team. Yeah. So sorry, it's a Zimbabwe rowing team. Yeah, so in the men's single sculls will be happening. So that's Zimbabwe at the Olympics. I thought you guys might want to know that.
Of course, yeah, Dan, do I need to pay more Glorilla? What's going on? What's happening?
If people are going to be watching the Olympics, you should know who's from, because we got that news this past week. Speaking of you wanting to play Glorilla, our producer here has pointed us in the direction of Billboard's top 10 hottest female rappers right now. I can't think of anything I care less about.
Yeah. Bad boys right and died.
I mean, not to say that I don't care about female rappers. I just don't care about a Billboard list of top 10 hottest female rappers.
Actually, that'll be something to talk about. You know what? I can't really, because only 5 people listen to it. I can drop some secrets on the podcast I can't write. You know what I mean? Because you can't screenshot a podcast and think about it. You can't screenshot a podcast.
You're safe here, Phil. It's a safe space.
So, over the weekend, let me pull it up. Over the weekend, we were met with an announcement that Ster Kinekor Sam Levy was closing down.
Yes, please give us the announcement, Philip. What's going on?
So,
it's the biggest movie. I mean,
no, yeah, I would say yes. Yeah, you're right. One of the biggest movie plexes in the country. Obviously, the most celebrated and one of the longest lasting. And then announcement: we regret to inform you that our Sam Levy Village cinema lease agreement, which lasted for an impressive 10 years, is expiring on the 30th of June 2024. Unfortunately, the landlord has made the unexpected decision to repurpose the space and shift its focus away from cinema. Nevertheless, the legacy is far from over, and we are actively searching for a new suitable location to carry on with our innovative business model. Our hearts are full of gratitude and memories and joy this cinema has brought to many over the years. For now, we look forward to continue welcoming you to our Bulawayo and Joiner City cinemas while we finalize our next location. Thank you for being part of our story. We can't wait to see you.
So this is obviously a big deal. For Uptown Harare, I mean, that's where you went to go watch movies, right? The new movies coming out, the new Bad Boys, the new whatever. You're going to go to Sam Levy, Ster Kinekor. But now it's closing. And just a quick side note, PR-wise, I don't know. This was written in such a way that all the attention was taken away like this. And we would have loved to kept it open for you. You know, we love
But
you.
you know what the problem is?
Unfortunately,
These Levies, this Levy family, bruh.
Honestly, I read this and I was like, you know what? I only have small notes. For example, the use of whilst. Just, come on, man. It's 2024. No one's saying whilst anymore. But apart from
that's
that,
AI,
you know,
definitely AI. Americans definitely think that's AI.
well written press release.
And then
it really takes the heat off. Everyone actually now feels sorry for Ster Kinekor.
and this comes on the heels of another announcement. Just last month, Ster Kinekor to cut a third of its workforce and shut down cinemas in South Africa. Ster Kinekor South Africa is preparing to lay off almost a third of its 728 employees amidst plans to close up to 9 of its cinemas in Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Western Cape. So it's not looking good for SK. The movie business as a whole has been suffering since COVID. That's just a fact. Especially during COVID, there were losses that would be hard to get over. And before we get to that, I think globally, during the pandemic, personally, this is me, I did believe David Zaslav killed the industry. For those of you who don't know, David Zaslav is the CEO of, what do they call themselves now? Warner Discovery, which controls HBO, HBO Max, Warner Brothers, etc. If you recall, during that time, Wonder Woman 1984 was to be released, and he made the bold assertion, or the bold claim, bold announcement that during the pandemic, all of Warner Brothers blockbuster movies would have same-day release on HBO Max. I'm assuming this was to bump up the subscribers to HBO Max, but it was also a massive shot in the foot. We're not going to get into the massive economics of it, but simple economics here. If I go to the movies by myself, I'm likely to spend in America around $20 to $30 minimum. HBO Max is $12 a month. I only need to watch a movie once. How does that add up? Right?
I mean, it's a volumes game. You know what I'm saying?
No, but there's no volume to be made that when you cut off, like when you give the same amount of access and privilege to your early adopters as the Luddites, you're killing your business. That's just cannibalization.
But okay, this has actually worked out well for HBO, I believe, and it's worked terribly for
it hasn't worked.
The cinema. No, because think about it, that $30 you're talking about doesn't go to HBO.
So okay, no,
to Warner.
So let's go back to the premise.
Warner.
I'm talking about killing the movie industry. Yes.
Okay.
In the short term, yes, it's great for HBO Max, the platform, because the rights holders, but it's also this vertical integration because Warner, which also is owned by the parent company, which then streams on HBO Max, it's great for them because they now have a full stake. So the other thing, nerdy bit of math, I think we've talked about it before, but in America specifically, it's a 70-30 split, but it's a 70-30 split. Sometimes it's 50 depending on the movie, but it's split between the theater and the rights holder, and rather the distributor. The distributor then takes their cut, then they have to pay to the studio. The studio then takes their cut, then they pay to the talent who have back-end deals, etc. Or they recoup on the expenses. So, what obviously as a studio, I'll be like, yo, why wouldn't I go for the platform I control, where I get the email addresses and have direct one-to-one relationships with the people watching my movies? But the loss there is you've devalued the movie-going experience, because movie-going is no longer an event. It's something you just do in your free time on the couch. And as nice as TVs have gotten, which they have, and home theaters and the like, it's still not going to match an IMAX experience. It's still not going to match. It's the same thing as like Netflix and chill versus, yo, you want to go to Prestige, you know what I mean? You can sit down on those leather couches, get some popcorn, get some snacks, get some slushies, watch a movie. Or, just come to my house and bring chompkins. Come on, girl. You know what I mean?
No, look, I love going to the movies as much as any person, but there's sometimes
Let me
Right now,
get to my point.
you got a fire going. You
A
get your
fire?
drinks. Yeah, we got a fire going right now. So,
Look at you, the 1%.
yeah, I wish
So there's that.
it's gonna be a broke month.
So the reason why I brought this up is during that time, you'll also remember Scarlett Johansson took Disney to court because of how they released Black Widow. Same thing with Black Widow. They released Black Widow the same time they released it. No, I think it was a week later. Or it was a very small window after releasing in theaters. Black Widow grossed 380 million worldwide. Black Widow, based on Scarlett Johansson's popularity and based on the negotiations she had, she expected us to get close to $1 billion based on her back-end payday. So if we had to assume that her math was roughly correct, let's put it 800 to split the difference. They lost $500 million in gross revenue, or rather $500 million at the box office. Granted, they're not going to see the money because it's going to be parceled out to all their partners along the value chain, but still a substantial amount of money. They've hamstringed that. So that's already a big issue for movie theaters. The other thing that's a problem for movie theaters is the time. And I think, Dan, you and I would not know this because we don't pirate movies. Obviously, we wait for them to be released on official channels. Also, a fun hack. Dan, Netflix on a US VPN. Yo, they have everything. Remind me to come back to that after this. No, seriously, we need to discuss Netflix on the US VPN. Anyway, so, Dan, you remember these days, movie would come out in theater, right? In Africa, for example, the first chance we'd get to watch it would be in one of two ways. We'd get the DVD or the Blu-ray at Macro, Jaggers, whatever, about 8 to 12 months after the release. Or we'd wait for Sunday night on Mnet. And Sunday night on Mnet, 8 o'clock is usually when they'd show the blockbuster movie that had just come onto TV circuit. And that would be 8 to 12 months afterwards. And we'd be so excited, like, yes! I remember seeing the highlights for this. I couldn't watch it in the cinema because it wasn't in the cinema for long enough. I didn't have money, but I can finally watch it. And that would be a substantial amount of time. The reason why it would take so long for the movies to be viewed by us is because they'd stay in the cinema across the world. You know what I mean? They do their run. Then they do an early...
Basically almost make people go watch it at the cinema.
Then they'd start selling VHS. And remember in the early days of both VHS and DVDs, they were actually more expensive. I remember seeing DVDs and Blu-rays as close to $100 because the studios were trying to get as much money from those as possible, because they also understood, and also to encourage rentals, because they also understood, like, if Dan buys a DVD, Phil's not going to buy the DVD. All Phil's going to do is go over to Dan's house and be like, oh, snap, you've got this movie? Yo, you've already watched it. Can I watch it? You know what I mean? And they'd make more money with rentals, i.e. Blockbuster, the rental store. And then they'd finally release it for TV, satellite TV and then free TV, which is another thing. There'd be a window there. The movies that would have ads would be a lot older than the movies that you would watch on premium satellite without ads. Now, Dan, it's a matter of weeks. Like, I remember watching Dune 2 in the theater. I can't remember what date it was, but 2 weeks after I watched Dune 2 in the theater, I was reading an article from Torrent Freak ranking Dune 2 as the most pirated HD, high quality, 2K movie on the internet. And we're not talking the bootlegs that we grew up on, where the movie would drop early, it would be someone with the camera, the color would be off, the camera would be slanted. Every time something of action happened, people would be shouting in the theater, or there'd be someone walking across the screen. Yo, we've endured a lot. I'm talking about HD rip with subtitles and Dolby Atmos. Like, your surround sound is picking up all the channels. You know what I'm saying? So that window has changed. So if I'm a discerning consumer, as you've rightly said, the fire is nice, the couch is nice, you don't want to deal with the stress of going to the cinema. I'm like, you know what? I want to watch Bad Boys. And I dealt with this myself. I wanted to go watch Bad Boys on Monday, right? And then I remember the conversation we were having in the Patreon group when we were talking about the Ster Kinekor thing. And one patron was talking about, yo, there were rats under my seat. Not a rat, rats.
Rats.
And I was like, you know, And the weird thing is, I'll come back to it later. I believed her. I'll come back to later about why I believed her. But there's that. So, A, it's easier to get movies. So why am I going to the cinema? The other thing is, especially with Sam Levy, let's call a spade. That place was not being maintained. The last screening Dan and I had there, and we vowed it was going to be the last screening we had there, we were in Prestige.
It was Eternals, right?
Yeah. 4 of the couches in Prestige weren't reclining. One of the couches had completely lost its back. And the terrible thing is it's dark in the theater, Sha. I don't know if Dan saw this. It's dark in the theater. People can't see. They just see a seat. And this person sat down in the seat, leaned back. There was no back and they flipped up. I felt so shit. Oh my God. There's that, right? The surround sound wasn't working. That's a common thing. How many times have we gone to the theater, they played the wrong movie, or you get there, there's a traffic jam, or they might just be bored and they start the movie early,
or they leave the lights on for a minute, or the sound is just not right. It's too low or too high, or
that was a common occurrence at the premier cinema in Harare.
I feel like, the sad thing, Phil. The sad thing is, I feel like Zimbabweans are just so grateful that we were getting new movies at the time of release. They were like, it's fine.
I don't know. Maybe we were, but I think it's also just because, and I know this because these guys used to be my clients. So I understand this aspect of the business very intricately. And one of the assessments we did is there simply wasn't any opportunity. There's no way for the youth to go. Right? This was before Jump came on the scene. I'm serious. I think now there's Jump. There's that like park with pistachios just off a rider, but this is all in the north, right? There's a few places for young kids to go, but there's only so many times you can take them to like a playground, a jumping castle, or trampoline park, whatever that may be, right? So because of those limited options, the movie was always there. Plus, also because of load shedding and everything else, it presented a viable option. Both cinemas presented a viable option for the youth to at least have some form of entertainment. But you'll remember, prices were quite prohibitive. Granted, now they had dropped because I think they had gone down to like $5. Some showings were even lower than that. I remember what did we go watch last? I think it was Dune, actually. Sorry. Yeah, we went to watch Dune in Prestige, and for 2 tickets was $10. And I was like, what? This is insanely cheap. And it was on a Monday. Before, Prestige was $15, sometimes $12. Popcorn $5, slushy $2, chocolate $2 to $3, biltong $3. You can see like how quickly a movie date would become. But when you transpose the cost versus what you were getting with the poorly kept facilities, it wasn't making sense. Then you've got to go watch a movie and then you got to deal with people who are on their phones like Dan is right now. They don't turn their brightness down, so they're blinding you. They're taking phone calls. They don't silence their notifications. They're walking up and down the aisles, just behaving like horrible people. You've got the pricing issues. And you know for a fact, if I chill for a while, that dude on the corner, he's going to have this movie anyway in a couple of weeks. And I think lastly is, like, movies haven't been good lately, bruh. I think the last major events was like Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man, No Way Home. And then thereafter, to me, it's a precipitous thing. And the other thing that streaming and movie in Hollywood has done is they have started disrespecting their superfans. And you've got superfans on 2 spectrums as I see it. One is the superfan that likes the blockbuster movies, that likes the comic book movies. Super invested. They're going to watch all 20 Marvel movies. They're going to come in with the lore. They're going to see the inside jokes. They're going to buy into the aftermarket products, buy the shirts, buy the bobbleheads, buy that, etc. But the movies just haven't been as good as they should be, and they've been rushed out, and it's become a chore to watch them, like what Disney has been doing with all these stuff and all these movies on Disney Plus. The other thing is the mid-market, the low-budget indie art film, like Scott Pilgrim Must Die. You know what I mean? Like Fargo. Those movies that were low budget but were really good original stories aren't really being made anymore because the streamers are just going for the quick microwave stuff. So they just make a cheap movie with an average script with the recognizable names and they file them. How many movies has Kevin Hart dropped on Amazon Prime in the past 3 years? Like, it feels like every week he's announcing a new movie that's just as equally bad as the last one. And how is that rewarding your fans? Because now there's no budget for the mid-market. I think Matt Damon had a great talk about it. I can't remember. I think it was on Hot Ones a few years ago. I think it might have been on Hot Ones. It was explaining why.
Yeah, I remember that.
Why movies are dying. So on both spectrums, those movies are dying, and it's forcing people to streaming. So, in general, cinemas are down bad, and they have not done enough work to save themselves. There's many ways we can. I believe they could have gone about it. They could have opened subscription deals like what AMC Plus does, or like through like Seamus Igo had a partnership with Ster Kinekor. Can you imagine if Seamus were like, hey, Dan, for an extra $5 to your premium, you'll get to watch 4 movies with your spouse every month at Ster Kinekor. Like, announcing that would be a great deal. But in practicality, you'd probably only go maybe 3 times a month, if at all. But at least you'd have that option to go. There was never really that option available.
I mean, that's an interesting model, like a subscription to the movie. So
yeah.
you pay every month, but you can go whenever you want.
Exactly.
You just go, whatever movie comes out, you can just go. I think that would be huge for like super fans, and like a lot of people might take it up. But there's another thing. I feel like the fact that other options are now available puts so much pressure on making the movie experience good. It must be good. It must be clean. It must be nice. It must be, you can get really, like, there's all kinds of, I know we're not going to do that here in Zim, but a movie experience where bring your cooler box, or a movie experience where
there is a movie experience like that, Dan. That's what the drive-in cinemas that were popping up. But the caveat
for the record, it's not an official.
Those drive-in cinemas were showing pirated movies. But because we have such lax enforcement of laws in the country, no one is thinking so. So Ster Kinekor also has to deal with pirates that aren't being attacked in any form or fashion.
Because if you would imagine, if you recognize, okay, number one, you have people who want to go out on dates. That's a huge movie experience. Great. Let's make that a thing. Okay. So we create, okay, what would people like for dates? We create a specific experience that's for that. Or what about just the nerds who love the latest things that come out? You have a specific experience for that. What about for the grown folks who just want something calm, enjoyable, not too much stress? Create something for that. But anyway, I mean, it's not my father's business. But if it was, that's what I would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
While we're talking about the movies, Bad Boys Ride or Die came out this past week. We haven't gone to see it yet. I say yet. Man, I don't know when I'll go see it, but I do want to see it.
I don't want to deal with the rats. I don't want to deal with the rats.
That's the thing. I would, like, if I could watch it at home, cool. Which is maybe what I'll do. But it's done well. It's done well.
Oh, the promo. The promo's done well. The last movie premiere Dan and I hosted was actually Bad Boys 3. Well, what is Bad Boys Forever? Bad Boys for Life. What is it? Yeah, Bad Boys Forever. Why was the Bad Boys 3 forever? And then they told us that was anyway. That was the last movie premiere Dan and I hosted together, and we left the movie somewhat disappointed, right? Because it was a bit of a departure from what we expected. But granted, it was expected because it was a new directors, a new thing. I just felt it was getting a bit too fast and furious-y. Because Bad Boys, though funny, had a level of grit and realism to it. You know what I mean? Like an old school action movie, a Michael Bay classic, which is why I loved it. I watched it again this weekend. Once again, thanks to American Netflix. And I think it might have been a bit harsh. It's not a great movie, but it's an enjoyable watch. You know what I mean? It's a fun watch.
I remember you were harsh. I mean, I didn't think it was a great movie also. But I did feel like, I mean, what did you expect going into a Will Smith and Martin Lawrence bushum vrr movie? It sort of delivered. I would say,
fair. I didn't expect the son to be a Latino super murderer.
Yeah. Anyway, I will, as soon as I I don't know if I'll go to the movies for it, but as soon as I can, I do want to watch the new one, and I'll also give it a review. We'll let you guys know what we think. Speaking of things we watched, we both went to King Kandoro's show. You went on Friday, I went on the Saturday.
I almost went all
From what
week.
I was told.
He's annoying, that guy. But anyway, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, from what I was told, his Sunday show was actually the best of the three, which is annoying. But anyway, so a little bit of quick background. First of all, it is super impressive how Kandoro has done his Properganda tour. Sold out 3 nights in a row at Reps Theatre by his lonesome. Yes, he had some opening acts, but no one knew about them until you actually got there and watched them. And they were good for opening acts.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the show?
Let me think about how to pause it. Ultimately, it was great. I think Kandoro was undoubtedly Zimbabwe's best comic, in my opinion.
Yep.
Looking back at it, Kandoro now has a solid 3 1 hours. Like if you wanted to, I would say the last 2 especially. Granted, there was a few jokes from this set that were from the last 1 hour set, but I understand. I'm not going to mark him down too much on that. The new jokes were great. Like Kandoro's mastered the art of like pregnant pause. He's mastered the art of physical comedy and using his body to sell the joke. He's mastered the art of narrative storytelling. I think like where I think he'll be untouchable is if he starts really honing in on like intricate stories and like callbacks. I don't know, Dan, have you watched the new Brian Simpson special?
I did, actually. Funny enough, I did. And I really
that
enjoyed
last joke about WAP and the royal family and how he ties it all together. That's one of the best jokes I've heard in a while. I love that dude's comedy. And I think when Kandoro can get to that, he's going to be golden. But right now, he's riding an intense wave. I was thoroughly impressed. Also, I didn't really, like Slick Pasta is famous, bro.
Why?
So like Slick Pasta did a surprise appearance on Friday. Yo, fam, you would have thought you would have thought Beyonce was in Seven Arts. That place blew the F up. It was insane watching that. We also had Pro Beats. Did a solid set. I obviously missed Saturday. And so I just didn't have the time. Like if Kandoro had given me the heads up, but also,
it was the same show.
No,
Philip. What do you mean?
Well, he came over. He came over on Saturday and Sunday, and he was telling me, last night was insane. Like last night was insane. Was better this time. Because the other thing, and I've got to give Kandoro props. I don't know how he did it. Like Kandoro was dealing with some real family stuff. I'm not going to get into it, but he's dealing with some real family stuff during all this. Like family stuff that he had to come home to Zim to do. It's almost like he had to come home to Zim to do family stuff, and he was like, I might as well use my evening. I want to do a show. And I was like, how are you doing this? So he said Saturday was a dope show, and then Sunday was probably better because he had finally like gone into the groove or whatever.
Yeah, so I heard. But Saturday was a dope show. To me, great show, and I can see the growth. I think he's amazing, and I mean the thing is he's our friend, right? So let me also be fair. I will mention some things that I think he can. I wouldn't blame this on him. I just think the venue's sound or whoever's doing the sound could have done a better job with the sound, at least on the Saturday.
Yeah, that's the same. I think that's also just a byproduct of Zim. Like, look at the venues.
I was also going to have
falling apart, bruh.
That's the thing. I was going to have a whole rant about venues, but it is what it is, man. Zim's venue. Man, the guy sitting next to me, chair collapsed during the show. And, Reps is supposed to be it's supposed to be a premium, that's where the white people go, air quotes. But anyway, Zim just needs better venues. But here's where I really wanted to rant. Okay. By the way, I know Kandoro has a very context-heavy set. So he would have had a different set in the UK, a different set in South Africa, a different set in Zimbabwe, different set in Harare, different set in Bulawayo. So I completely get it. The thing that I was going to complain about is I think we suck as an audience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it happened on Friday, but on Saturday, the number of people that just kept on standing up and going out in the middle of the set, some to answer phone calls, probably some to get drinks, I don't know, whatever other reasons. It was so distracting, and it annoyed me so much. People just kept getting up and walking out, walking back in, getting up and walking out. And reps it's such a small space to sit in. Excuse me. People have to stand up to get out of here as you get out. It's so frustrating. So frustrating. I remember I was like, I need to use the bathroom. I'm going to go before my man starts. I can't stand up while he's before. That just felt so bad.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that. Yeah.
Then to make it worse. Yeah. Then to make it worse, you see, Kandoro has this thing that he does, right? It's like a little, almost like a little bit of a signature physical part of his physical comedy where he does this thing with the you know what I'm saying? It's meant to signify his response to something that shocks him or surprises him. Or something that makes him feel, The thing is, everyone in the audience now wanted to make their own joke. So almost at every point, someone in the audience is shouting, yee. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, yo, do you think you're being funny? Like, it was so frustrating. So here's what I want to challenge. I think the show was dope. There's obviously improvements, and I mean, I'll have a conversation with him where I think there could be improvements. But in general, I 100% agree with you. He is Zim's top comedian right now, period. In terms of putting together something. I don't know in terms of numbers. Like you said, there's probably people like Slick Pasta and whatever who've got big numbers. But I can't think of many people who can sell out Reps Theatre 3 nights in a row who are not Japreza and Winky D. I can't think of very many people who can do that. That's 500 people per night. 1.5 sold out. Secondly, just maybe it's because we don't have so many of these kind of things or we're not used to them or whatever. But we need to work better at being a good audience, man. Just be I don't know. It just really annoyed me. And people just standing up and wanting to, it's not like they were heckling. They were clearly enjoying the jokes, but some people felt like they wanted to outdo the comedian and throw their own joke. You know what I'm saying?
Then, how many clips of American comedians have you seen doing that? That's just common. That's just what people do.
I mean, I've seen that, but it felt worse. Maybe I'm hating on my own, but it just felt worse. I didn't like it. I was kind of annoyed by that.
You're a terrible person.
When I next speak, I want to ask him like, yo, was that a thing or is it just me? Or is it just how it shows up?
Here's an interesting question. Had your wife seen him before?
I don't think so, actually. I'll have to ask her to confirm. But
what are her thoughts?
So she was like, literally, I understood 30% of the show. She's like, I understood 30%. And especially when he gets into the jokes about like Julius Malema and whatever. I mean, I was also trying to see like, is this funny to her? And she was gassing. She was like really laughing. In fact, Kandoro actually addressed her because at some point he made a joke in Shona. Then he was like, yo, I want to apologize to people who don't speak Shona. And then he looked at her and was like, I'm sorry, man. Just ask your man next to you type of thing. And it's not that the jokes were most of the jokes were in English. Yes, there were a few that were in Shona, but it was like maybe 10, 15%. But the jokes that were in English are so local. My wife doesn't know who Wicknell is. You know what I'm saying?
Dan, what? Why are you educating your queen about the kings of the court? The rulers of the town.
I've told her some stories, but it's not going to hit the same. You know what I mean? She'll be like, remember when I told you about that guy who was giving people cars? And she's like, oh, yeah. You know what I mean? It doesn't hit the same, right? Which is completely understandable. I mean, it is what it is, right? You're trying to give comedy that's local. That's got context to the local people. She doesn't know who Wicknell is. She won't have a lot of background about, for example, he was making reference to some of the things that happened between private schools and public schools and Zim and stuff like that. It's not the same as an essay, for example.
You just said Model C, baby, Model C school.
Yeah. I was over there like, no, we used to, I was explaining stuff and she was like, you don't have to do this. It's fine. I was like, no, I want you to understand the joke.
Because it's funny, babe. It's funny. You're like, babe, it's funny. I'm telling you, it's funny.
So for someone who doesn't speak Shona, who's not from here, she was like, honestly, like 30%. 30% of the show is what I got.
Okay.
But yeah. And let me see, what else?
Oh, how was K-Flow? How was K-Flow's performance?
Oh, yeah. K-Flow was dope. So K-Flow was dope because we know his music. But Jungle Loco came and no one really knows him. and he still won over the audience. I have to give him props for that, man.
Oh, that's what's up. That's dope.
I have to give him props. K-Flow was dope, but most of us know, when he's over there singing, like
Get it back.
Yeah, people are like, okay, all right. Fanawepa jecha. Sometimes people are singing along because they know the songs. But
what's that lyric again? Sorry, just give me that lyric one more time. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, okay. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Genius Zimbabwe.
Yeah, but huge shout out to King Kandoro. While we're talking about being outside, are you going to Carpe Diem this weekend, Philip?
I hope so. I would hope so. That we would get our complimentary tickets. I will be there since I will not be out of the country.
Please give me one.
Nope, that will not be happening. But I'll send you videos. Also,
Walter says there will be heaters and warmers at the venue, but I'm still skeptical because it's been cold recently. But still,
this cold front came from nowhere.
Bro.
Nights went from like 15 degrees to it's been biting.
According to the Met Department, the cold front is supposed to end tomorrow, which is the Wednesday.
And the worst part is the cold front and the extreme load shedding have coincided. So now the electric blanket is rendered useless at this juncture.
My 1,000. Philip, let's wrap things up.
Exactly. Protection is key. Actually, this is actually a funny story. This is actually a funny story. It's a serious side.
Please don't tell me a story about protection being key, please.
So, I met booties.
Those Zimais.
I met booties. It's a so wild name. I met booties. I was at the pharmacy known as Booties, right? Why would you call it pharmacy? We know you're trying to rip off Boots, but booties? Yo,
you know. There's a towing company that calls itself Camel Toe, TOW. I was like, why would you? And I was like, you know what? I respect the hustle, but anyway, so you had booties.
At the booties. I'm at Booties. I was getting some medication, and they'd created a display on one of the shelves leading into the store for Father's Day, because Father's Day is in a couple of days, right? And this is a pharmacy, by the way. So this is where I know, like, the world does not care about men, or men just aren't good at getting gifts or telling people what they want. This is in a pharmacy, by the way, Dan. The assortment that they had massive bottles of 3-in-1 wash. So body, face, hair. I don't know which type of fathers. If your father used the 3-in-1, I'm sorry, you were not raised right, because there's no way. There's no way anyone with a good sense of hygiene is using 3-in-1. 3-in-1, Iowa guys. Anyway, so there's the 3-in-1 body wash. There's a set of tools at a pharmacy, Dan. A set of tools, pliers, spanners, screwdrivers, etc. There's obviously, the aftershave and the cologne, hampers, blah, 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 blah. And then in the middle of this display is condoms. For Father's Day, by the way. Condoms, right? And there's it's a carry bag. And in this carry bag are knives. So imagine an open carry bag of knives that's shaped in like a V, right? And then in the middle of the V, in front of it, so you can see it, are boxes of condoms piled up. And I'm like, what?
Father's Day.
I'm confused. A, the condom should make sure that you are never a father. But B, it's a knife set. Also, C, why are you putting knives so close to condoms? Do you know how condoms work?
Phil, it's not like they're interacting.
It's just a visual. Like when it's Mother's Day, fam, there's cards, flowers. We're having a dinner here, a Mother's Day brunch here. Get your mother the perfect Mother's Day gift. A comfy comforter, shoes, clothes, wigs, the works. Like people put it all together. Like even those gift boxes that people sell, like for Mother's Day and Valentine's Day. For the women, it's chocolates, roses, assorted gifts, hand-stitched, or embroidered fabric. For men, what is it? My chips, aftershave, and apple. You know what I mean?
It's like someone said, have you ever looked at the flavors for men's skincare and stuff like that versus women's? Like women have, lavender and
Ylang.
cocoa butter and ylang and all that. And then men, it's like gunpowder, blood, death. It's like, I want to smell good too. What the hell?
Toxic masculinity. Toe jam.
All right, anyway, let's wrap it up. I hope I'll be able to make it to Carpe Diem, actually. Depends on the missus. Asked her, shall we go to Carpe Diem? It's like, let's see how we feel on the day.
Oh, are you guys doing Rockin' the Daisy? Dude, are you guys doing Rockin'? Meta said Rockin' the Daisy, but it's no Legger and Meta. I'm there. I'm in there like swimwear.
Oh, let me actually raise that with her, actually. Philip, first I need to figure out how to fix this iPhone. Hi. But yeah, you know what, actually, we'll make a plan for Rockin' the Daisy. Let's go to Rockin' the Daisy. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Two Broke Twimbos. We're going to wrap it up at this point. If you would like to support us, you can go to twobroketwimbos.com/donate. That will allow you to become an exclusive member of the exclusive club, the Two Broke Twimbos patrons. We'll add you to the WhatsApp group if you so choose, and you'll be part of our exclusive conversations. Hopefully that's worth $5, but even if it's not worth $5, the real reason you're paying $5 and above is because then you know that you're supporting a podcast that needs your help to keep going. So twobroketwimbos.com/donate. Also, if you want to make a once-off donation, you can also go there. If you don't want to subscribe, maybe you're like, you know what? I love the way these guys described AI or Apple's event to me or whatever it is. I'm going to throw them a young $50. twobroketwimbos.com/donate. We will greatly appreciate it. You can also just share the podcast all different places. We've recently been discussing how people don't seem to know about us, even though they had been listening to it, they'd been following us, and now all of a sudden they're like, what, you guys are back? Like, we've been back 3 years, fam. Anyway, yeah, so please just share it on your socials when we post it up. twobroketwimbos.com across all the social media platforms. We are on Instagram, but to be honest, we don't really use it that much. Twitter is the one we use more. Two Broke Twimbos on Twitter. Individually, Danny That Guy, and Phil Chard. So please, thanks for your support. What shall we end the show with, Phil?
Let's go with Julian King featuring Freeman.
Julian King and Freeman, it's actually quite a catchy song. So we're going to end the show with that, and we're going to continue introducing you to new music. Hey, go stream Rachel Chino Riri's album. It's actually really dope. And we'll catch you in the next episode. We out.
The only is a party song. Julian King come along. Why make we do this song?
Koreino trikuta mama piano. Wamabonda tika sefeni Cristiano. Talk time bobata chiriti muluciano. Pakuru wadiki posa ipa musiano. Mama piano. Tamiro ya maita sisita. Anya unoona dikita. Sangor no papa ne dikita. Futa pana alopisirana newe. That's why I'm losing my cool. Up in here. It's a fire brigades. Jujuna doctor conzeres emergency. Ubasa tona mande nasi weekends. Dama piano singo no vajupe. Ngoma ya Juliet. It's a fire brigades. Jujuna factor conzeres emergency. Ubasa tona mande nasi weekends. Dama piano singo no vajupe. Ngoma ya Juliet.
You figure go fire katumba. Check why your mama gave you zunza. I confuse and you wafunza. Make them not say which is a competition. It's what I now bring for your brigade. Baku baka bana bacha fike. Chutaramba zechita itova kusen. Atisco funza na masika. Uchita nejo muna mupinda. Baku desmateri no bisa. Amane prada kana chista. We just want to party usatimisa. Gangsta bachimoresa. Banoti no koshesa. Every time when you see me with the Julian King is so fine.
It's a fire brigades. emergency. Ubasa tona mande nasi weekends. Jama piano sengo no pachupe. Ngoma ya Julie. It's a fire brigade. Jujuna pasta konzeresa emergency. Ubasa tona mande nasi weekends. Jama piano sengo no pachupe. Ngoma ya Julie. Jujuna 5-star konzeresa emergency. Ubasa tona mande nasi weekends. Jama piano sengo no vajupe. Ngoma ya Julie.